Memory management, large allocations, bad allocs. So this is a map of how Scylla looks at memory. And we'll talk about a single shard. So that is the total memory a single shard has. And it's broken up to LSA, which means that Scylla manages that memory internally, which it's broken up to mem tables and cache. It's split between them. So if I'm accumulating a lot of mem tables, the cache will be smaller, vice versa. It also means that if you have a large read workload, the cache may grow as well. And then there are standard allocations. Standard allocations are usually for, they're not supposed to be very large. Usually they are around queues, managing the software and so forth, the lifetime of Scylla. But again, if we have a queue building up, it will eat up memory from mem tables. The first thing that will take the hit is the cache that can be relinquished. Okay, mem tables cannot be dropped out. They need to be flushed to the disk. So that's the first item that will be hit. So usually most of the memory is in LSA, cache or mem tables. Again, 8 gigabytes of memory. It's usual to see 7 gigabytes allocated to mem tables and cache, 1 gigabyte or even less for other things. When LSA memory drops, it means that we had to evict an item that translated to higher latencies. We need to read more from the disk to answer your queries. We don't have the cache anymore. Large allocations. So Scylla manages the memory or tries to manage the memory in a good manner. It means that it breaks up blobs to smaller chunks. It does a lot of things, but large contiguous allocations are bad. And they're bad because they take a lot of time and they take a lot of space. And to reach a large contiguous allocation, then it means that we may need to free a lot of space as well, till we get that large buffer that we can write to. So large allocations are bad. And Scylla writes this information to the logs. Again, it's a backtrace, and it has the size of the allocation. So what can you do with those? Again, report them. It's in the docs. Once the info is shared, we'll take a look. And it can be, again, your applications. So we can provide you information, what to change on your application side. Large blobs are, again, not great. If you disable paging, again, you could have seen it in the SQL optimization, but if we see large allocations and we find it's around the area of building a result set, then we know it's related. So if you disable paging, that's the reason. And we can provide you this information. We can tell you to, again, upgrade, change your application, or tell us this is important to you. And again, we'll try to take it into account when we schedule items. Bad allocs. So large allocations are bad, but there is always something worse than something bad. And bad allocs are worse. So that means that Scylla wasn't able to allocate the memory. Okay? And it throws a bad alloc. Now, bad allocs can happen, and Scylla is able to work with some bad allocs. So it can happen. They're not great, but again, it can happen. It can be a temporary time where there was stress, we couldn't allocate, there was a bad alloc. Your client or your application may have gotten an error even back for a request that it sent, and it will retry and everything will be perfect. But in some cases, it's not transient, and in some cases, we cannot really keep on working, if that's the case. So again, what you can do is always report the issue, and we'll try to figure out why it happened. It's not perfect, I know, but it's, in many cases, we can tell you it's either try to not build so huge batches. Break up your batches to be smaller. That will reduce the pressure on memory. Bad allocs will, the allocations will be smaller, and you won't reach that point. That's an example. So again, you may be instructed to upgrade, change your application, or tell us it's important to you because there's no other way workaround.